Today, first chess video in a little while. Gonna be playing a 10-minute rapid game. I've been playing a lot of unrated chess, as you may or may not know, so I am quite confident that I will be able to win this game today, but we'll see what happens. Without further ado, let's begin. We're just gonna start a 10-minute rapid game right here. Okay, we've got the black pieces, and we have d4. Okay, d4 is interesting. For a while, I had like an England gambit phase, but I'm going back to playing d5. Usually, playing England gambit usually just results in me being in a worse position. I'm going to make sure I can recapture with the queen in case the opponent decides to trade with the bishop. Okay, we already have some very scary moves on the board. Honestly, not 100% sure how I want to deal with this. I think I'm just going to put the knight on c6 for now. In some unfamiliar opening territory here. Okay. This is a little bit odd, but then again, the knight is coming here. Okay. This is almost like a Caro-Kann, except white is the one who's pushing the c-pawn to try and break my center. I'm not liking that. I think I'm going to castle out of the way. Honestly, I don't want to deal with these problems, but then again, I am just castling right into the queen. Perhaps this was not the smartest decision either. Okay. Already very tricky here. I'm really tempted to try and just get rid of this dark squared bishop. Okay, of course it just moves back. I'm gonna unpin the knight. Potentially knight goes here. Okay. This is an interesting move. Not exactly sure how I want to approach this. I think I'm gonna play bishop e6 first, then try to play queen up. Okay. Queen moves away. I'm gonna try playing queen up. I'm gonna try and just threaten the queen. Okay, of course the light squared bishop comes in first. However, this square is still protected. And since the bishop is the first piece in the battery, I can always kind of move to h8 if necessary. It's not a huge concern there. Perhaps I should start doing something on the queen side. Although I feel like, white will probably castle king side, no matter what I do. I'll just stop any bishop to b5 ideas, even though white just put the bishop on d3, so they probably won't want to go bishop b5, but white castles king side, as I said they might earlier. Just need to make sure I don't blunder this. Perhaps I should just trade some pieces off first. Okay, white declines. I'm gonna press the issue here. I could see this move, although I don't think that's gonna happen. Okay. I'm gonna take with the queen. Actually, I probably should have taken with the knight. Just realized. Not great, but maybe the knight will just go back here. Okay. Again, bishop check, not a worry. I just go over here. It's possible that black will sacrifice just to damage my pawn structure. That would be pretty interesting. No. White goes here. Can I just put pawn in this exchange? I can. I don't see anything wrong with this. Yeah, I knew I was about to get proven wrong. Okay, but this is pawn with check. Interesting. Not a free pawn, not a free knight. Of course. Does this trap or no? White will just take back. So I don't want to do that either. I think I'm just going to come back with queen. Keep an eye on c7 here. Okay. And now the white bishop retreats. I'm up 2 pawns. I should start looking for trades. This is not safe. Not off a queen trade. Willing to double some pawns here. Okay. White forcing this pawn here, which can become a big problem very quickly. I'm going to start by trading queens. And now I'm going to put the bishop here. If this, I think I'll just take. White doesn't have a dark squared bishop, which means this shouldn't be a big deal. Although white gives me the opportunity to just blockade this pawn altogether with the knight. Attacking the light squared bishop here. I'm going to threaten the rook. Okay. I do want to keep this guarded. I'm just going to go rook here. Maybe I'll even go rook here and look for a trade. Okay. I could trade knights. Could go up. Actually, no, I can't because now the knight blocks. I'll go for a trade. I'm also controlling the open file, which is very nice. Oh, I meant to play b5 here. We might have a pawn storm incoming. Okay. Hold on. How badly does this end? If I try to go c4, takes. Yeah, that'll be alright. I'll go for c4. Well, if the rook comes in, this could be annoying. But I have my own rooks. Okay, this is what the opponent had in mind. Can I force something here? I think I can. The bishop has to move. Okay, it goes back here. I believe I can defend, because if takes, now the rook will support. This is arguably better for me. I've got two connected passed pawns. These should be able to promote without too much resistance. Just have to be careful not to hang any rooks in. Actually, it's pretty hard for the opponent to get a bishop to attack this rook even if it's on here. It might go here, though. This is not a threat. I feel like I can just take. And there's still this pawn, which will stop the rook from checking me. I think I'm going to go here right now. And just start pushing away. Okay. Just pushing the pawns. Yeah, these two pawns are making the difference right now. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. If I go here, white might try to sacrifice. I'll let white try and sacrifice if they really want it that badly. Okay, now white going here. I believe I can just push. Okay. I don't see how white checkmates me here. I always have this escape square as well. Just going to continue pushing. This is about to land on the board, and this will be very nasty. Especially because if takes, then there's always... Oh, wow. Actually, I didn't see this move here. The bishop blockades. That's actually quite interesting. However, now this bishop is holding down these pawns. I wonder if this is possible. I believe it is. Just go back, try and get rid of the rook. Then I can push here. And if takes, obviously, I take with promotion. Okay. Now white moves back. I think I'm going to go with this right now. Rook obviously can't move. Oh wow, there's this defense. How well does that work? I think I need to take first. Takes here. Bishop takes, rook takes. I'm pretty much winning no matter what, so I think I'm going to do threatening this. Bishop sacrifice is probably necessary. Yep. How can I get my knight over here? Oh, that's actually excellent. King goes here, and there's a fork. And there's a discovered check. I'll come back. Support the pawn, even though it's probably not necessary. And we have a queen. Now it's just a matter of some checks. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to deal with this. Okay, I think this is how we're going to go. Don't blunder anything. And this game. Okay, relatively clean win. Wow, 16 points of rating. Like I said, I haven't played in a long time, so I believe chess.com likes to give you more rating if you don't play for a long time. But there are 3 mistakes, which means that review is very necessary here, so I am going to do that right now, and I will come back to you and we can analyze the game together. I am back, and it is now time to analyze the game that I just played. As we saw, my opponent played d4, and I responded with d5 here. My opponent plays c3, which is pretty solid, creating a pawn chain. As we saw later, the opponent pushed c4 to try and break apart my center. This is a book move as well. I'm playing knight f6, just casually developing. And over here, I'm already breaking the theory because I don't know any of this. The computer wants me to immediately push c5, which is actually a pretty common Caro-Kann idea. However, I play e6 first, in hopes that, you know, in the event of a trade that the queen can recapture. My opponent plays queen d3, which is a pretty scary move. Already prospects of checks and an attack on the king are forming. But I'm just playing knight c6 here, which is a good move, just trying to develop. Nothing too crazy. Opponent plays knight to d2, which is actually the best move. I thought this was a little bit suspicious, but because the knight cannot actually develop to c3 because of the pawn, this is actually the best move. I play bishop d6. Again, not the best move, but a good one. Strengthens the center. It prepares e5, even though e5 can be played immediately, which is what the computer recommends. And now the opponent plays c4. Computer doesn't like this move, but I think it's a pretty good one. Just trying to destabilize black center. I castle here. Computer suggests takes, but that's fine. After a trade of pawns, my opponent plays e3 here, strengthening their own center pawn. And over here, I play h6, just trying to kick away this dark squared bishop, hoping for a trade or maybe a movement off the diagonal. But of course, white continues maintaining its sight on this knight. However, the best move is to trade. Now I play bishop e7 here, just unpinning the knight from the queen. Computer actually wants me to go and harass the white queen here with the knight. Opponent plays knight to f3 here, which connects the two knights, which is pretty nice, but also fights for the center and continuing development. Now I play bishop e6 just to support the center. Again, the computer just wants me to go after this queen. Now the opponent plays queen to c2, not the favorite move from the computer. The computer wanted a rook here. I'm going to stop talking about the computer now. Anyway, I play queen to d7 here. I thought, this is just going to support kind of everything, and perhaps maybe I can get a light squared bishop in here. But my opponent maybe shuts that down with bishop d3. If the bishop ever comes here, I will just lose material. And I play a6 here, which is a mistake, rightfully so. Again, computer wants me to go after this queen and this bishop. And this is a mistake because my opponent can play the move a3 here, which shuts down the idea of the knight coming to b4. However, my opponent doesn't see this and castles. However, I don't see it as well, so really can't blame them. And over here, I just try and offer a trade of dark squared bishops, which my opponent politely declines. Now I play bishop d6, pressing the issue, and now my opponent accepts the trade, after which I recaptured the queen. Best move was to recapture the pawn and double the pawns, which I did not want to do, so I'm surprised the computer says that. And my opponent plays bishop to h7 check here. However, this is not a big issue, because even though king to h8 is the only move, now there is no possibility of the bishop ever checking me, and because the bishop is actually in front of the queen in this battery, the queen is actually never really going to get here to check me, which is... So essentially this bishop is keeping me safe from the scary queen that's behind it. And then my opponent plays knight e5, and this was kind of the beginning of my opponent's issues, because now, after a sequence of trades, I am simply a pawn up. I took the white knight with my own knight, my opponent recaptures with the pawn, and I recapture the pawn with the queen, and now there are no more recaptures. And then my opponent plays f4, which is another mistake, which gives me another free pawn. Queen takes e3, and there is a check, so the king has to move. You could block with the rook, but king h1 is the best move. And over here, I played queen b6, just retreating the queen. The computer does actually want me to play g6 here, which I thought was a bit scary because there's a possibility of white sacrificing the bishop. However, the computer says there's nothing to be scared of, so that's pretty interesting. But I played queen b6, just retreating the queen, also keeping an eye on the c7 pawn here. I'm up 2 pawns, that's why I have an advantage. I don't want white to start chipping that away. Opponent plays bishop d3. As you can see from all of these yellow arrows, the bishop is in an excellent spot now. And now I play queen c6, with the purpose of offering a trade. However, this trade is actually the reason that this is a mistake, according to the computer. However, my opponent plays f5 a little bit too quickly, threatening the bishop. However, I can play the intermediate move, queen takes c2. And of course, my opponent is going to go after the higher value piece first instead of taking my bishop. Otherwise, my queen would be able to essentially run free, kind of escape the murder charge here. And then after recaptures, I can move my bishop out of harm's way. Now my opponent plays knight f3, and I just play knight f6, which is the best move, just blockading the pawn here, making sure it's never going to cause me any problems, and my king is still safe and sound in this corner. My opponent plays knight e5, just trying to cause some problems, attacking the bishop. However, the computer says there's no trades or anything to worry about. Instead, I chose to attack the rook. The bishop was defended on the square, so there really was nothing to worry about. Opponent moves the rook, and I have the opportunity to attack the knight. Apparently, wrong rook. Computer wanted this one. That's okay. My opponent puts the knight on d3, just getting it out of danger. It was being threatened by the rook. And over here, I take the opportunity to exchange my bishop for the knight. My opponent recaptures, and I play b6, which is actually a mouse slip here. I meant to play b5, kind of creating like a wall of pawns so that the bishop is never really going to come here. However, the computer wanted me to... wait, no, I think it was a move later. I think what the computer wanted was, yeah, c6 here. But a move later, I played b5, and over here the computer wanted a5, because after a5, essentially the bishop is never going to touch these pawns because they're all in dark squares. However, in the position that I chose, it's a little bit weird because if I want to create like some sort of pawn chain, it's all going to be on light squares, and there's like a universe in which the bishop somehow starts gobbling them all up. I'm not really sure, but anyway, my opponent plays b3, which is a miss because now I can play c5, and the pawn avalanche is coming. My opponent plays a4, which is a bit of a scary move, because now they're coming after my massive pawn chain. However, I have c4, which threatens the bishop, which is obviously a bigger threat than sort of this pawn capture here. My opponent has to deal with this first, moves the bishop away, and then I'm able to defend this b5 pawn. After takes, I've got these two connected passed pawns, which, as we saw, pushed their way to promotion. I supported the pawns with rook to c8 here, and my opponent begins trying to sort of stop my pawns in advance. However, there is little they can do against two connected passed pawns here, although bishop c2, credit to my opponent, is an excellent move, blockading the pawns, stopping them from going anywhere. However, the rook can reroute around. Apparently, the computer wants a trade here. My opponent plays bishop to b3, targeting this pawn here. However, rook to a1 is a much more pressing issue. The rook is under threat. My opponent defends. However, I can trade rooks, and after this, a bishop sacrifice is necessary. And there's still this pawn looming on the second rank here. My opponent begins moving the king, and I need to find a way to get my knight, or, well, I can also get my king, that's just way longer. I need to find a way to get my knight over here to support this pawn's promotion square, which is what I start doing. However, my opponent gets a little bit hasty. They start moving the king, and they end up moving the king onto f2 here, which blunders a fork of the rook, after which there is nothing stopping the path of the pawn from promoting. And then, definitely not the fastest rook and queen checkmate ever. Maybe might be the slowest one, but I did get there. Rook to b8 here, checkmate, and I was able to win the game. That is going to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Do check out some of the other chess videos if you would like to see those as well. And I will see you next time.